Hello, this is Wes Bridle, and this is another Kingdom Calling Economic Update video. All of these videos are short updates about what has been going on in the economy, and today we're focused on the U.S. economy over the last month. And these updates are to the Coming Storm video, which we put out almost 2 years ago, which talk about big picture, what we're going to see in our economic lives in the world over the course of the next decade. So far that video has been dead on and has really warned you about some pretty crazy things before they've happened. So if you haven't seen that video, I really recommend you go watch that, because the big things are just about to happen, haven't quite started yet, and you can do that for free by following the link that is near this video. So again, today we're going to talk about the US economy, and I think we've got 3 videos on that. I'm going to start out with some positive news. This is generally bullish news. Corporate insiders are buying is way up. So the people that run corporations in America are buying their stocks at a really large levels. That's generally a very bullish news for the stock market, and generally means the stock market's probably going to go up because these people know their companies better than others do. My one concern about this would be they're generally not macroeconomists that see really the big picture of what's happening in the economy. They just look at their company, they think their company's doing well and that the price of the stock is cheap, and so they buy. So again, it's a positive news, but I think they were doing that at some level before the last crash too, because they didn't see that coming. So it's not necessarily a foolproof indicator that stocks are going up, but it is a positive, good sign to look for bullish activity in stocks. Now, unfortunately, most of this is bad news. First of all, we never actually left the 2008 recession. The government puts out statistics and later they come back and change them. Well, they recently changed a bunch of the numbers that they had put out a while back that had told us we were out of the recession and actually growing beyond the peak achieved in 2007, 2008. But turns out when you look at the numbers that they've changed, we never have quite gotten out of or reached the peak that we had before the recession started 3 years ago. So, you know, maybe the next quarter that comes out will have growth, and because we're getting close, maybe that'll happen. Or maybe we turn down and we just never quite got out of the last recession. We just continue into depression. Now it depends how you define it. I think the Bureau of Labor and Statistics defines leaving a recession as positive growth for 2 quarters, and we have had that. But as far as getting back to where we were, we haven't done that yet. The economy has contracted for 4 of the last 6 months. Oil has dropped precipitously just as it did before the 2008 crash. Banks are announcing massive layoffs just as they did right before the 2008 crash. All these things are things that typically precede a big crash, and they're happening now. Consumer spending dropped for the 3rd month in a row, which always means a recession. Bernanke admitted that the economy is much worse than he thought, and says commodity prices increase caused the market to fall. Well, there's a whole lot of us out here. We're not the mainstream ones, but a whole lot of people that could have told them commodity prices were going to increase when he started doing all this printing. But he seems totally clueless to that fact. I think he's not really clueless. I don't think he's a stupid man, but in his public speeches, he acts like he's a stupid man that doesn't understand this. He acts like it's a total coincidence that commodity prices rose, and he seems flabbergasted that that happened, and said that hurt the economy. Well, you know, no kidding. But one thing that somebody pointed out, which I thought was interesting, the one thing that the Federal Reserve has power over is the money supply. It's the one thing they can control. And when he's given his big speech recently, he didn't even mention money supply. He's talking about all other aspects that he has no control over, and doesn't mention the money supply. So does that scare you? It probably should. Bonds are acting crazy. High yield spreads are widening, which is a sign of economic decline. The bond market is usually a lot smarter than the stock market. And when bond yields start increasing like that, when high yields go high, prices go low, that's typically a sign that we're about to see the economy crash. So that's what the bond market is telling us right now. And everyone is slashing U.S. growth forecasts. I haven't seen a whole lot of them go negative yet, but they're all slashing them from decent growth to pathetic growth. So that's happening all around with economists everywhere now. Fortunately, if you've been watching this, you've been hearing these things long before the mainstream economists are catching on. I certainly should note that they're now catching on to what we've been saying for a while. U.S. Super Congress. This is a scary thing. This is totally unconstitutional. But in this last debt ceiling deal, I'm sure many of you know that they appointed a Super Congress. I think it's 12 people that now become all powerful. They haven't been selected by the voters. The voters sent them to be in Congress, but not to be part of the Super Congress. And now they are all powerful in setting up an agenda, legislation for the country. This is a lobbyist dream. The lobbyist only has to influence 12 people to get their way. That is incredible. This is completely unconstitutional, and it's dictatorial. Yet this is the new system apparently, until perhaps courts throw it out. Crash so far ranks among the worst in history, this recent market crash that we've seen. Yet it's not exactly one of the worst, but it's maybe top 20 worst. And again, when we see these big crashes, that always precedes a drop in the actual economy itself. I think that's all I have for the first video. Again, if you haven't seen the Coming Storm video, I suggest you go watch that for free. There's a link right near this video. Thank you for watching.